start with one of my favorite quotes by Mark Twain. So Mark Twain is quoted as saying, "Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, and not the absence of fear." And I think that that's really important because we all experience fear. So I should tell you that I almost didn't get up here today. I wasn't actually avoiding it back there without the music, but so for the past couple of weeks, and even the past couple of months, I've been obsessing about this and worrying about this. Because you see, for me, this is a really tough thing to do. And I think public speaking is a really tough thing for a lot of people. But for me, it's incredibly hard. There are a couple days this week that I even had that feeling like, oh my gosh, like, it doesn't even sound logical, it sounds funny to say to you, but what if I die up here on the stage? Because that's what it feels like sometimes. That's what fear feels like, right? When it really digs in deep and it affects us, it makes us feel like, I'm not safe. What if I die? What if I'm not okay? What if I fail? And that's what fear does to us. So I actually had asked if it were possible to provide this speech while in the fetal position on the stage, but some people felt like that might not be the best way to talk about fear, and even maybe like while eating handfuls of chocolate. But so I'm going to just stand here and do my best to navigate this and talk to you about fear based on what I know, what I've learned from navigating my own fear. So, and this is, by the way, I love this background. I love these queenisms. If you follow their page, I think it's so cool, and I think it's pretty close to that quote. So I put that up there. So, you know, what qualifies me to speak about fear? And I think the first thing is that I'm human, right? And we all experience fear. Fear is a very human experience. There isn't a person in here who can't tell me that they experience fear in one way or another. And so we experience that in so many different ways. For me, one of those things is public speaking, but we experience that in so many different ways. And, you know, for other people, sometimes that's, you know, maybe I'm afraid to be myself. Maybe I'm afraid to connect with people. Maybe I'm afraid I'll stay in a job that I don't want to stay in just because I'm afraid of what the possibilities look like over there. So many different ways that fear impacts our lives. And I want you to just take a minute and think about that. What are the ways that fear impacts your life? And I don't want you to think about it in necessarily the classic anxiety perspective. So, of course, we all have those things like spiders are really scary for some people, you know, things like that. But thinking about the ways that fear holds you back in all of the not so obvious ways as well. Maybe those times that you didn't take a leap of faith when you really wanted to. Maybe all those things that you're not going after that you would really like to achieve in your life. So one of the things that qualifies me to speak about this is that I'm human, but also that I've worked for the past, I guess, over 10 years now as a licensed mental health counselor. So I get to see fear and what that looks like on a daily basis working with people. And I can just tell you, it's so incredible to me how debilitating that is. You know, I've seen it, people who are afraid to leave their homes, and the counseling session that's their first step, you know, towards coming in, because, and that's where they're starting to face their fears by coming into their session, or just all the little ways that fear affects people, but we're all being held back in a lot of ways with that. So I see that a lot through the counseling as well. And also just in being a friend to people. I mean, we hear, that's what we talk about with our friends, right? Is our fears and what goes on with that. So I hear the fears from my friends as well and what that looks like. So that's really what qualifies me to speak about that. And I think we all can. And I think the thing about fear is, first of all, that I'm actually completely safe up here. As scared as I am, I'm completely safe. But fear will tell you that you're not. And that can feel really, really scary. But it's only as powerful as we allow it to be. So I called this discussion "Slaying Your Fear Dragons," and that's because that's really how I see it. As even our little fears that we have, those can feel like dragons for us. They can feel like these big, scary things that we have to tackle. And when we decide, when we make the decision that we're going to go after those fears, we have to suit up our armor. We get ready, right? Because for us, that fear is telling us, this is real, this is really scary. So we get ready, we put that armor on. And I think that it's so important that we're making that decision on a regular basis to slay those fear dragons. And so how do you do that? I think the first step is to acknowledge the fear that you're experiencing. And that can just be simply saying the words, "I feel afraid," and acknowledging that. That can be acknowledging what is happening to your body physiologically when you're feeling the fear. So I'm wearing a long dress so you can't see my knees knocking, but they are. And my lips are stuck to my teeth. So I'm acknowledging physiologically what's going on for me. My heart is pounding really quickly. And that is something that you can do when you decide, I'm ready to take on my fear dragon, is I'm going to acknowledge what I'm feeling. Because you know what just happened for me? I feel a little bit better by acknowledging that. So it starts to bring down that fear. So that's one of the steps with that. I think also what we need to do is start to slay our fear dragons one dragon at a time. And we start with the smaller dragons. So we start with little steps. And sometimes that's baby steps even, right? So I said this has been a fear a long time. So I had to start even years ago teaching small classes. Even just speaking up in small groups was hard for me. So doing that, always pushing that. In recent months, we've done a lot of promotional things that have really forced me to do that more. So for clarity, we teach classes, so that's helped me to get more comfortable. Another fear dragon slayed. We had to be on the news, and that was a tough one. Another fear dragon slayed, right? We actually went to make a YouTube video, and some of you guys have probably seen that. And I had an actual meltdown. It was bad, a panic attack in the middle of that. And Nicole had to kind of talk me through that. And I say that because I want to remind you that as we're slaying our fear dragons, that's not always going to be a pretty thing. And trust me when I say that that was not pretty. It just wasn't. But I really feel like I had to have that meltdown. I had to have that experience, because had I not done that and seen that I could survive that experience, maybe I wouldn't be up here right now, So that was another fear dragon in that direction. So start small and work up to it. And if you fail, if you decide to not get up on the stage one day, do it the next day. Just take those opportunities as they come and keep pushing, keep growing. I think that that's really, really important, because that fear can be so paralyzing. That we have to keep pushing. And, I think that it's really important to acknowledge that as we're feeling that fear, to notice, to say to yourself, you know what, I'm not the victim here. I'm the knight, and I'm ready to take this on. So really choosing to change that perspective and decide that you're going to slay those fear dragons. So another form of fear is, and I see this a lot, and even for myself, is just that ability to be vulnerable with people. We get hurt, we build up walls, and that's what happens. And you're probably thinking, but yeah, you want me to be vulnerable, but I've been hurt. Some of the most important people in my life have hurt me. And what I would say to you is, yeah, I'm sure you have. I've hurt people, you've hurt people, and that's part of the human experience, and that's what we do to each other. But do you know what else is part of the human experience? Love. And so what I would encourage you to do is to pay attention to the love. It's those tearful goodbyes in the airport. It's those little random acts of kindness that strangers do for each other. It's the way that we support each other. It's what we all look like during those months after September 11th, if you remember that. How different was that? That was love. There was a lot of fear, but there was a lot of love too. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is take off those glasses that are forcing you to see the world through fear and put on those glasses that help you to see the world through love and see the best in people and in the wonderful things that they do for us. Because I think sometimes slaying our fear dragons requires us to take down our armor, and I think that that's really important too. And I also think it's really important to breathe. I noticed I haven't been breathing very much up here, so I'm going to just do that really quick. So I think that those are the most important things, but I really, really want to thank you because you guys have all been a part of helping me to slay a really big fear dragon today. Yeah. So thank you so much.